your accent on the show is a lot thicker than it is, I've noticed, just now in real life.
That's right, yeah. It does get thicker when I get drunk, obviously.
Which you're not right now.
When I'm totally not right now. Or when I've spent a lot of time in Scotland as well, it gets a lot stronger.
Okay, so it's not like a specific thing you're doing for the show that is your real accent, you just like really bring it out.
Oh no, don't get me wrong, I do a sort of Highland accent from around Inverness area, and it's hopefully got a lot more musicality to it.
And do you have a dialect coach on set with you as well?
We do, yeah.
Okay.
We've got a dialect coach. And actually,
so are you ever like doing like love scenes where you're naked and the dialect coach is like coming in like, oh, say it more like, oh, that does happen?
We've got a lovely, it does. We've got a lovely dialect coach, and she's a very lovely little lady. She'll come in, hey, one moment, Sam, just a bit more on the fricatives. And the enunciation, she's constantly like picking me up on. But it's great fun. What about you? And do you have a dialect coach? No?
I do not have a dialect coach on Jessica Jones because I'm just doing my natural accent.
Have you done accents before?
Just one time I did, but I'm never going to do it again. So it didn't go very well.
Okay.
But yeah, that's for me one less thing to worry about. I can't imagine on top of all, which you have as well, on top of all of the blood and the filth and the stunts.
There's a lot to think about.
And the trauma and all of that stuff, to then also have to do an accent on top, I imagine is totally challenging.
It is challenging. And as you said, yeah, we do have a very physical show. There's a lot of horses and riding and fighting. So yeah, there's a lot to think about. But I don't know, it's a great challenge. And actually every episode, I always feel like there's something new to learn as an actor. And I think that's the great part of our show, that you get to learn a new skill.
Yeah.
Yours is pretty tough too. You're pretty physical.
Yeah, I've never thrown a punch before in my life. And at first I didn't know where to put my thumbs, Yeah. They're like, Krysten, you gotta put your thumbs away. Okay, cool, I'll put it in there. But that's how you break your hand. Yeah,
actually when we met, you gave me a little slap on the shoulder and it was pretty strong.
I'm stronger than I look.
Yeah, you've been working out.
It's deceiving. I've been crushing the 5-pound weights.
Oh yeah.
But I imagine on a show like yours that it's period and there's costumes. I imagine it's not comfortable being in period costumes all the time. Like, what is the dynamic like on set on a normal day? Is it like sludging? Is it like really roughing it, or? Yeah,
I mean, I find actually the costumes are really helpful to find the character.
Oh, totally.
Season 2, actually, we're in a completely different world, and I think that the costumes actually sort of influence, the way you walk, the way you stand.
Yeah.
So Terry Dressback, who's our costume designer, she's done a terrific job, and she really works with the actors to sort of help them find the character and tell a story through the costumes. And I love the kilt. It's very free. It makes you stand in a different way.
Right.
Yeah. And you have a very fine leather jacket.
Yeah, which really helped me find my character as well. As soon as we did a lot of fittings and weren't finding like the right jeans, the right thing, because I just had to feel a certain way, and I'm not nearly as cool as Jessica Jones is. So like finding that outfit that helps me really inhabit her, and it was just like this fine line of not looking too feminine, having something that looks like it lives on the floor. Because Jessica Jones doesn't care about anything, and she just wants protection sort of from the world, from anyone's gaze. Yeah. So finding that outfit was really key. And then I never really changed my clothes the entire time because Jessica's poor and she doesn't have a lot of money, and I was like, well, I feel fine. Let's just keep wearing this. Well,
that helps for costume changes then. You don't have any. So.
Yeah. I mean, I did have like doubles. I wasn't really wearing the same pair of jeans for 8 months. But the wardrobe for me, I've always relied really heavily on wardrobe because that helps me like not feel like Krysten. It helps me feel like somebody else.
And what about theater?
Same. Anything like when I play like somebody like totally wacky and quirky, I need to have like the wacky and quirky clothes. Yeah. So I've always loved that relationship with the costume designers, where you come up with that. And I always have a big say in that. It's something that's really important to me.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I totally agree. It does help. And I mean, we're always talking very closely to our costume team, and hair and makeup as well is really important. I find you can just add a lot of detail with that, and I mean, I spend a lot of time in our show covered in mud and blood. But,
right, same. I did too. And it's, you know, normally you call your girls that do your hair and makeup like your glam squad.
Yeah.
But on Jessica Jones, they were like the blood squad.
Let's bloody you up.
But for me, I was the least glamorous I've ever been. I wasn't really, like, there was no hair and makeup. There wasn't like that whole thing. So I was actually pretty comfortable. And it was nice as a woman not to have pressure to look bright and bushy and beautiful. Like if I came in tired, which I did, it was better.
Yeah.
Like the sort of worse I looked, the better it was for the character.
I think you still look fantastic in the show, but yeah.
Sorry, what?
I did.
Thank you.
Psycho bitch!
How's your day-to-day life changed since your show, Outlander, has a huge rabid fan base? Do you have any crazy fan stories or?
I mean, this show is basically my life. It's taken over my life. You know, we shoot, like yourself, I think, you know, for long periods of time, and we shot for 11 months.
Wow.
This last year, and then I'm on this press tour. So yeah, it takes over your life, but everyone on set becomes your family.
Right.
And so, you know, your personal life is you know, is put to one side, so to speak. But
are your friends and family sort of like stop talking about Outlander?
I don't think they remember who I am or what I look like.
Got it.
Yeah. But no, it's really nice to be on set and to be supported by your fellow actors.
And do your castmates go with you typically on your press tours?
Yes, we're all on this press tour, and it's really nice to share that and actually have some downtime as well, which is great.
And talk about the show in a different way.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, it's funny though, isn't it, when you work on something for so long, and then when you have to go back and talk about it, and you're like, it's something you did maybe 10 or 11 months ago, it's pretty tough. But, you know, it's a great journey to be on.
Yeah.
And yourself?
It's very similar. Just hearing you mention that, my life is probably very similar to yours. It's like Jessica Jones shooting, and then Jessica Jones like crazy press.
How long do you shoot for?
We shot for about 8 months, and then we're on Jessica Jones is on Netflix, so it's a global platform, so we promote the show kind of everywhere, which I've never done before. I've never really done a press tour like this. I've never promoted something in so many countries. So it's totally is my life now.
And physically quite demanding as well?
Yeah, I'm on hiatus from like the serious working out because it's hard. It's really hard for me to keep like a certain amount of muscle tone on. I'm just not naturally buff. You know what I mean?
So you've got to eat a lot and,
so I have
lift
to
a lot
eat
of things.
so much. That's such a jerky thing to say.
Yeah.
But I do, and I'm so sick of it.
Do you enjoy having a sort of different body? You know?
Yeah, that was really important to me in finding the character because I am unlike Jessica Jones, and there was so much pressure when I got this part. Self-inflicted pressure, but also because I hadn't had a huge opportunity like this, I just wanted to be great. The audition process was really long because Jessica Jones also will be in The Defender, so it was just a big commitment. And so for Marvel to cast me, they like really kind of put me through the ringer. Yeah. So there's a lot of pressure, and I wanted to be great, and they wanted me to look a certain way. So doing the physical training and sort of bulking up really helped me. Helped me find her like weight. And I mean like weight of the world. Like the way I carried my body was different. The downside is like none of my clothes fit. Like nothing fits.
You'll just have
closet.
to live in the jeans and leather jacket.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to go back. I used to like wear girly like dresses all the time and like look pretty, and now I just can't. I can't do it.
I think you did a great job. I mean, it is a completely different physicality, and I think the physicality is a great way into also a character. The way they walk, the way they hold themselves.
Yeah.
And as your,
it makes it. I will say, it makes it a little. And I'm just thinking of this now. It makes it a little harder to turn it off when you go home. Yeah. So because you go home and you still feel like this other person, even though to everyone else it's probably a subtle thing, but for you. So in terms of like switching it on and off and not having to like live in a really dark place.
And you
kind of stay like in a really dark place.
So you do take it home with you?
Well, you know, I'm in almost every scene of Jessica Jones, and the days are really long, and so yeah, I'm there all day, and then I go home. I may be home for 9 hours. So I did kind of like stay in it, which I felt helped and allowed me to sort of do the work that I wanted to do. By the end, I'm like, oh my God, this is getting really dark. I'm getting depressed.
Yeah.
Like it does start to come home with you. I would try not to, but because I was shooting away from home, I didn't have my girlfriends.
Yeah.
My boyfriend was touring, so I was like really isolated while shooting Jessica Jones. She's isolated, so that works.
So it does work, yeah.
But after a while, I was like, oh man, I gotta be able to. I have to find a balance.
Yeah, yeah.
But I imagine for you, same thing. Like the end of your show, that last episode.
Yeah.
Do you take that? Like, how do you just switch out of that?
There is some pretty heavy stuff towards the end of the season, and like yourself, I think I was sort of living in a bubble, so to speak. I was not really seeing many people outside of the job, and sort of keeping myself to myself. And they're long hours as well. We had a lot of prosthetic work.
Yeah, you have so
episodes.
much prosthetic work because your shirt's off all the time.
It is, and it's all fake. So it's all.
Sorry.
They just put prosthetic abs on and such like. But no, it's there's about 4 hours in the morning for the back prosthetics. Yeah.
And I'm sure that's not something you've experienced before because you're a dude. Usually you don't have to spend that much time in hair and makeup.
No, indeed. And it's a new experience. But I think that all kind of adds to the character, just even the process of going through that, those hours of sort of, you have to be very focused and very patient. And I think that kind of just gets you in the right sort of mind space to then go and do those sort of scenes.
Yeah, doing television is kind of like it's really about endurance. You have to really take care of yourself. You have to pace yourself. You have to show up like so healthy. You have to really keep yourself healthy because of the long hours, and it goes on and on and on. And it's really hard to catch up.
Do you get a lot of rewrites? I mean, do you get things sort of sent through every day because you go home after shooting and then you've got to go and learn some new lines or relook at a scene? Yeah,
totally. We would get rewrites. I would, they were pretty good about getting me the scripts with some notice. Before we started, I had the first 3 scripts. So I was able to do 2 months of work with my acting teacher every day. And because Jessica is so informed by her past, I felt like if I knew where she was coming from all the time, I would know how to say all the lines. And then I would kind of just look at them the night before. And for me, it was really about prep work. And then on the day, I would just trust that the magic would happen and I would know the lines. But I'm not one of those people who's like, I gotta run lines. I'll look at them once, focus more about the backstory and listening, and kind of just like be there, be present, see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely, and sort of surprise yourself. I think that's something I learned this year. Definitely, it was about actually just relaxing into the role. Once you've done your prep work and you've done your research, and then and just sort of let the character surprise you.
Yeah.
You want to discourage Prince Charles from mounting a rebellion?
Scotland and our people cannot bear another failed rebellion. We must not invade until we're certain we have the resources and finances to win.
Originally, I was looking to do like a dark, gritty show. I really enjoy what Netflix was doing. So I kind of just like put it out there in my own universe. I want to do like a dark, gritty Netflix show. So my manager finally calls and he's like, Netflix is doing this Marvel show. They want to see you. I'm like, that sounds great. I'm never going to get it.
Yeah.
I'm never going to be a superhero. And then it wasn't until they locked me in a room and I saw the scripts and I realized like what a psychological character study this was. And I was like, okay, what do I have to do? I had to do a lot.
Yeah.
I auditioned, and then I had a meeting with Jeff Loeb and Melissa Rosenberg, the creator.
This is you've seen the scripts at this point.
I've seen at this point 2 scripts. I've seen.
Right.
First audition, I saw nothing. Didn't even nothing. Just blind sides. And then I had a meeting, and then they locked me in a room. I came out. And I said, "How do I do this? Let's make it happen."
Yeah.
And then I did multiple screen tests, which you're sitting there with other people that are up for the role for hours and hours and hours, and they're bringing you in. They're pairing you with other people. And I thought that was over. I put it aside. I went on vacation. They were like, they want you to come back in and do it again.
Oh no.
So I did, because I wanted the part. I would do anything.
Yeah.
But it was the most it was a lot of pressure. It was super stressful. I've never gone through something like that before, but I guess like the good stuff, the stuff you want, you got to fight for.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what was your experience? How did you get your part?
It sounds very similar.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know. And I've sort of, I've tested on shows before, so kind of understood the process, but it seemed to happen quite quickly. There was, the initial tape that I did with the casting director, and then they brought me back in. But then there was, this whole series of screen tests, and you're doing it with with another actor, which is fantastic. And I was very lucky, actually. One of my good friends was reading opposite me. So
okay, good. That's so safe and comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I tried to sort of not think about it, but you can't. You sort of it could change your life.
It could change your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And, did you meet any other actors that are in the show now?
Actually, yes.
While testing?
Yes, I first did a screen test with Mike Coulter, the guy who plays Luke Cage.
Great.
And we both had to come back together.
Wow.
So it's a really unique experience that Mike and I have. We're on the same journey. I did Jessica Jones, and he's in Jessica Jones, and now he's doing his own show, Luke Cage, and then we're all going to do The Defenders together. So it's usually, acting is such a isolated profession. So I have this guy who we sat in the waiting room together, and we're on this journey together. So him and I have a great bond, and I think because of that, we hit it off right away. And I guess, yeah.
And do you think that definitely adds to the show as well? You've got this bond and.
Yeah, I think so, and it just got better and better. It's really interesting when a casting director will choose somebody for you. Put you together with somebody. Even Rachel Taylor, who plays my best friend Trish Walker in the show. I mean, I'd never met her before. Loved her from day one. Like sisters, like real best friends. We just hung out last night.
Yeah, that's
it's
great.
so cool how a casting director facilitates potential long-term relationships for you.
Yeah, it is.
It's so cool.
It's great, and that sort of bond. I mean, every job I've done now, I sort of find that you make these relationships, and that travels with you wherever you go. You have these great relationships, and do you hang out much outside of? I mean, you said last night you were out with Rachel.
Yeah, I saw Rachel, and I try to. I'm really good about putting little hangs together. I'm probably going to be a great soccer mom someday, because I'm we should get together. Okay, well, let's pick a day and we'll make it happen. I'm like that with my friends. I'm good about bringing people together. So if anybody from the show is hanging out, it's because of me.
Brilliant.
Because I make it happen.
Being a hero just puts a target on your back.
Yeah, been there, done that.
The hero gig?
I gave it a shot once.
Tell me there was a costume and you still got it.
Auditioning can be really great, I think, if... It can be great if the part's really right for you and it's sort of positioned in a nice way that you walk into a warm room and you can feel comfortable. But for the most part, it's pretty terrifying. You walk into a room and it's you versus all these people. You can't really see their faces, and you come in and kind of do your thing. So you can look at that as your 5 minutes to do your thing. It'd be great. But then it's also sometimes there's this human element that's not there, so it's scary. And it's hard to. Auditioning is nothing like what the job's going to be. So it's a totally different muscle.
I enjoy the ones that you learn something and you maybe don't get the part, but you come out having at least flexed that acting muscle, whatever it is. You've learned something about the character, and at least you got a chance to play them for a short period of time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's such a tough process. But I think things have changed, certainly since I started acting. There are a lot more self-tapes now.
Yeah.
A lot more sort of sessions that you get to work with the casting director, whereas, I don't know, when I first started, it was very much walking into a room and then just, doing your thing and leaving.
Yeah, same, but that's kind of what happens if you start working more. You have fewer auditions. So there's a time in your career where you're doing 4 or 5 a day, and you get into it, and you get into a groove, and you're good, and then you start working and you do way fewer. So you get rusty. I've had 1 audition this year, and I remember being oh my God, I don't want to go in.
It's a definite skill, isn't it?
It's a skill, yeah.
I also find that American actors, or certainly American casting directors, when they ask you to read, you guys actually, you tend to just read, sight read. This may not be true, I might be talking rubbish. But you know, I definitely in the UK, it's
you
know,
come at like no
you
sides.
have to know everything. Yeah,
Okay.
you have to know it, and if you don't know it, yeah, it's kind of frowned upon.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've always approached auditions like it doesn't matter what the result is, as long as I can go to sleep at night knowing that I like crushed it, did my best, coached, put the hours in. Then if you don't get it, you're like, well, I was awesome.
Yeah.
So in that, I would not really look at my pages, but I always have them in my hand just in case shit hits the fan.
Yeah, yeah,
So
absolutely.
know it,
Safety
never look
blanket.
at it, but
Yeah.
it's there in case like something it throws you off. And
Yeah.
what happens? You don't have your sides, and you're like, I have no idea what to say next.
Yeah.
You're your corpse.
And tell me, so you say you've got an acting coach, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems to be definitely something in America that actors do. You're constantly working on your craft. And
Yeah, I love my acting coach.
it's great. I think it's fantastic. You know, I think, you know, British actors, I don't know why we don't, it's not a thing.
Really?
Yeah, not so much. I mean, in the UK, yeah, definitely. I guess we have this whole process of drama schools. I went to a classical drama school, and it seems to be after that point, people don't really employ, you know, acting coaches.
I work with my acting coach. I've been working with her for over 10 years. And her name's Marjorie Valentine. So if you're ever here.
Marjorie.
But, you know, what's great about it is having just that time spent working on it, talking about it, intellectualizing it, picking out like choices and backstory and all of that stuff. Just the time spent on it. I'll take her something maybe that I've worked on and have a pretty good handle on, maybe isn't brain surgery. And she will always find more colors, always find things that I missed.
Yeah, or just ask
And
you
elevate it.
questions.
Yeah. So for me, it's about, I'm all about prep work, because if you're prepared, then you could be confident and you can be free. So that helps me. I mean, maybe some people are so disciplined that they can like just go home and like turn off their stupid phones and just work on it.
Yeah.
For me, it's like about having that 3-hour window where we're just working on a role.
Yeah. Do you work with anyone else, like you know, your boyfriend or other actors, or is it you just keep it primarily?
Mostly I work with her, but there have been times I have a girlfriend who's a director as well, so she'll come
That
over,
helps,
put me
yeah.
on tape for things,
Yeah.
and always like rereading with me and watching me at the same time. Like, oh, I think you should do it more like this. So I'm open. I don't necessarily, if I have my boyfriend read with me, like go full.
Sometimes that's not a great idea, is it? It can create a lot of tension, yeah.
Or it's just awkward.
Don't read it like that.
Or like, oh no, I wasn't doing it.
Yeah.
I wasn't actually. I was just reading.
I
I'm
wouldn't
just
do it like
marking
that in the room, yeah.
Right. I'm not. No. I know. No.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
wasn't
going to do
really
it like
trying,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. So, but with my acting teacher, I feel safe and fine.
What the new sword? Does it satisfy?
This one's lighter than I'm used to. Still prefer a Scottish blade.
Cutting too wide, leaving yourself open.
In your show, you guys have to do a lot of sex scenes.
Yes, and you do too.
Yes, but I would never have to get naked because I'm still Disney.
I mean, I won't admit that I was watching in the car this morning, and yeah, I was like, wow, this is really, really racy. And but your stuff, I mean, you don't get naked, but it's still really hot. It's really
Yeah, it's also. It is. It's a little hot, I guess. I don't know. I don't really think of it that way because I'm usually really prude about that stuff, and I don't like doing sex scenes. It makes me really uncomfortable. But those, because oftentimes I feel like they're gratuitous or rely so heavily on like the woman to like be super sexy, which I don't think your show does either. But with Jessica, I always felt like the sex scenes came from such a place of character and strength, so it always made sense to me.
Yeah.
So for me, I never thought of them as being like anything that spectacular. Obviously, the show's come out and people have talk about the sex scenes a lot, as with your show as well. So that's strange to me, but yeah, my dad won't watch the show because of it.
Yeah, it's always hard getting your family to watch
Which is
those
fine.
sort of scenes.
It's fine. I don't need them.
I think we're exactly the same in our show. You know, I think we were very aware that we didn't want it to be gratuitous or explicit.
Yeah.
When there is, you know, an intimate scene or, in fact, violent, you know, scene that you have, you know, quite a lot, you know, a bit of violence in yours as well. And I think it's we always talk to the producers and the writers and work out how it moves the relationship forward or what it reveals about the character. But you know, our show is definitely a central relationship, and so we learn a lot about the characters through their, you know, their sex life, and it can be tough though. It's so not sexy filming
it's so
those.
not
is it?
sexy, and people don't
They don't understand.
get it.
Yeah, Yeah,
It's very choreographed. Ours is anyway, which is fine, and strategic. Hopefully, you have a director that like knows, has a shot list and knows how they want to shoot it.
Yeah.
Because you don't really want to be doing that for 10 hours.
Yeah. Well, we sort of always approach it almost like it sometimes can be 10 hours as well.
Right.
You know, if you're shooting that one scene all day, but we always approach it, you know, like a play or something. You know, you go through it and work out exactly what what you want the audience to feel or see, and then you just have to literally block it out, and it becomes so almost mechanical.
Yeah, it's such a vulnerable place to be, because you know, even just being on a television show or being an actor, when you have eyeballs on you, or you are the center of this show, and everybody, you know, you're like the entry point for it. Having everybody's eyes on you sometimes is like, it's difficult. There are days when that's like, oh man, I wish I could just like disappear for a day.
Yeah.
To then have to be naked also, I imagine.
And how and so, you know, how do you find that the other side of, you know, when you're not hiding behind a character, when you're being yourself, you're doing, you know, public appearance, or I mean, is that something that you're confident with or comfortable with? Or?
I mean, I'm still figuring it out, you know. Not really. I don't really like to leave the house if I don't have to.
Yeah.
Because it's just like you don't know what's going to happen. Anything could happen.
It's a dangerous world out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.